The first thing he felt was cold, not the kind of cold that made you shiver. This was different. It felt strange, like the air itself didn't belong to Earth. It was too clean, too quiet, too still. Ethan blinked. He was lying on a soft surface that pulsed gently under him like it was alive. The room around him was dim, glowing with soft blue light from smooth walls that curved like waves. He sat up slowly, rubbing his temples. His memory was hazy. He remembered running, shouting, and an explosion. He looked down. His uniform was torn, blood crusted on one side, but he felt no pain. Someone had cleaned his wounds and wrapped them in unfamiliar glowing bandages. He wasn't in a hospital. This was something else. Then he saw her. She stood near the wall, staring at him, not blinking, not moving. Tall, almost 7 feet, slender but strong. Her skin shimmered like moonlight, pale silver with a faint glow. She had 4 fingers on each hand, delicate but sharp-looking. And her eyes. They were large, bright violet, filled with something between curiosity and fear. Ethan didn't move. The alien girl tilted her head, watching him like a scientist might watch a rare animal. She took a step forward, then stopped. Her voice was soft, but it echoed slightly, like music in a cave. You are not dead. Ethan opened his mouth. No words came out. He coughed, then tried again. Where am I? The girl frowned. You should not be awake yet. That didn't help. He tried to stand. Bad idea. His legs gave out. She stepped forward quickly, too quickly. She was suddenly at his side, one hand catching his arm. He flinched at her touch, but it was gentle, warm. You fought the worms, she said quietly. The what? She turned her face toward the wall. A section of it lit up, revealing a floating screen. It showed footage, grainy, chaotic, of the battlefield. Massive insectoid creatures, armored and deadly, charging toward human soldiers. Ethan was there, throwing something, and then nothing. A bright flash, then darkness. You stopped one of the queens. You shouldn't have survived. But I did, Ethan said softly. The girl looked at him again. That's why I kept you. That sentence hung in the air. Kept me, he repeated. I am Zalara. My duty was to observe, not interfere. But when I found you, something changed. You resisted the venom. No other species can do that. Not even us. Venom? Ethan's voice cracked. She nodded. The queen bit you. Her poison kills in seconds, but your heart kept beating. Your brain stayed alive. You're different. A silence fell between them. Ethan stared at her. He didn't understand most of what she was saying, but one thing was clear. He wasn't on Earth. Zalara turned and walked toward a panel. She pressed her hand to it. The wall melted open, revealing a window. Ethan's breath caught. Outside was a sky of swirling purple clouds and floating islands. Strange creatures flew in the air, like jellyfish with wings. Far below, a massive jungle glowed in soft bioluminescent shades. It was beautiful and terrifying. Where is this place? He asked. This is Virex 7, she replied. A neutral zone in the Galactic fringe, far from your war. Our war? She looked back at him. Humans call it a war. The Council calls it evolution. That made no sense. Ethan sat back, overwhelmed. Zalara walked over and knelt beside him. You were supposed to die, but you didn't. Now they'll come for you. Who? The ones who want to study you, or worse, use you. Her expression had changed. There was no more curiosity, only worry, real fear. You need to leave, she said, but you can't survive out there alone. Then help me. She hesitated, then nodded. But there's one condition. Ethan narrowed his eyes. What is it? She reached behind her neck and unhooked a silver chain. At the end of it was a glowing pendant, softly pulsing like a heartbeat. "If I bond this to you," she said, "I will be marked forever. My people will exile me, but you will survive." "Why would you do that?" he asked. Her voice was almost a whisper. "Because I watched you die, and something inside me didn't want you to." Ethan looked at her, really looked this time, not as an alien, not as an enemy, but as someone who had saved his life, and possibly given up everything to do it. He didn't understand all the rules. He didn't understand why she cared. But he knew one thing for sure. This wasn't over. It was only just beginning. Ethan stared at the glowing pendant. It pulsed slowly, like it was alive. Soft blue light danced across Solara's fingers as she held it out to him. She didn't speak again. She waited for him to decide. "What does it do?" Ethan asked. "It will mark you as mine," she said quietly, "and it will connect us." His brows furrowed. "Connect? How?" "You'll feel what I feel. I'll sense your thoughts. It's a survival bond, used only in war, or between mates." The word mates hit Ethan like a blast of cold air. He opened his mouth to protest, but stopped. She wasn't joking. Her expression was serious, sad even. "I don't want to force this," she added, "but if you go out there without protection, you won't make it." Ethan hesitated. Everything about this was insane. Aliens, venom, mind bonds. But his instincts told him one thing. She had saved him. She didn't want to hurt him. He nodded once. "Do it." Solara stepped closer. The room dimmed as if holding its breath. She lifted the pendant and pressed it to his chest. It burned. Not painfully, but deeply, like a brand searing his soul. He gasped. His knees buckled. She caught him gently. A wave of images rushed into his mind. Memories, emotions. Not his. Hers. Loneliness. Duty. Fear. And a strange warmth when she had found him alive. Then silence. The bond was complete. Ethan looked up. Her eyes glowed brighter, now locked onto his. "I can feel you," she whispered. "Even your heartbeat." He nodded slowly. "So can I." She stepped back. The pendant was gone, but he could still feel it, like a presence in his chest, a thread connecting them. Suddenly, alarms flared. The walls flashed red. Solara's expression changed from calm to alert. "They found us," she said. "Who?" She didn't answer. She rushed to the panel and tapped it rapidly. A hologram blinked to life. 3 ships approaching fast. Sleek, black, and covered in deadly-looking claws. "Harvesters," she said, her voice tight. "Harvesters of what?" "Of life. They don't care if you're dead or alive. They take anything rare." She turned to him. "And now, you're rare." Ethan stood, legs shaky but strong. "Then let's run." No time. She grabbed a strange device from the wall. It looked like a gun, but the barrel was split into 3 sharp prongs. "You ever use one of those?" she asked. He shook his head. "No, but I'm a fast learner." "Good, because they won't ask questions." Suddenly, the wall exploded, inward. A black insect-like creature stepped in. Its long arms ended in razors. Its face had no eyes, just a breathing slit. It sniffed the air, then turned to Ethan. It hissed. Solara raised the weapon and fired. Blue energy blasted from the gun, slamming the creature into the wall. It screeched and vanished in a flicker of static. "Not real," Ethan said. "A projection," she agreed. "But the next one won't be." Another boom. The whole room shook. Solara threw him a second weapon. "Point and press. Don't hesitate." He caught it, hands trembling. "What's our plan?" "We get to the glider," she said. "It's on the lower floor. Once we're airborne, I can cloak us. Lead the way." They ran. The hallways twisted like tunnels in a coral reef. Lights blinked, shadows danced, and behind them, footsteps, clicking, and sharp, echoed closer. Two more creatures dropped from above. Ethan fired. The shot was wild, but it hit. The alien burst into static, disappearing. "Nice shot," Solara said. "Beginner's luck." They turned a corner and stopped. The hallway ahead was blocked. Rubble from the explosion had collapsed it. Solara cursed in her language. "We'll have to go through the nest." Ethan blinked. "The what?" "Come on!" she shouted, pulling him down a side tunnel. The air grew warmer, wetter. Strange green moss clung to the walls. And then, light. They stepped into a cavern, and Ethan froze. Eggs. Hundreds of glowing, pulsing eggs, and in the center, another queen. This one was awake and angry. She turned toward them, rising on long legs. Her mouth opened, revealing long, venomous fangs. Solara raised her gun. No time to talk. Ethan aimed beside her. "Let's end this." Together, they fired. Light filled the chamber, and everything changed. The energy blasts hit the queen, straight in her chest. She shrieked, a horrible, high-pitched sound that shook the walls. Her long legs slammed into the ground, cracking the floor beneath her. Green blood sprayed from her side, but she didn't fall. Instead, she charged. Ethan barely rolled aside in time. The queen's claws ripped through the air where his head had been. Solara shouted something in her language and fired again. The beam struck the creature's leg, making her stumble but not stop. "She's not going down," Ethan yelled. "She's a breeder queen," Solara shouted. "They don't die easy." The queen's tail whipped toward Ethan. He raised his weapon and fired blindly. The light hit the tail mid-swing, snapping it with a sharp crack. The severed part flew into the wall, leaving a smear of glowing blood. "We need to go. Now," Solara said, grabbing his arm. They ran between the egg clusters, dodging falling debris as the queen let out another cry, summoning something. Ethan heard it. More footsteps. No, not footsteps. Skittering. Dozens of smaller creatures poured in through tunnels in the walls. Sharp claws. Hissing mouths. Hungry eyes. "We're trapped," Ethan shouted. "No, we're not." Solara pointed toward the ceiling. A narrow shaft led straight up. "You're kidding," he said. "How do we reach it?" She pressed a button on her belt. A round metallic device dropped to the floor and exploded, not with fire but with wind. A sudden burst of anti-gravity threw them into the air. "Grab the edge," she called out. Ethan reached. His fingers caught the shaft slip, and he pulled himself up with a grunt. Solara floated beside him, her legs tucking in midair like she'd done this 100 times. They climbed into the next chamber, panting. Below them, the swarm howled in frustration. The queen roared again, this time with fury instead of pain. "Will she follow?" Ethan asked. "Not up here," Solara said. "The heat vents are too dangerous." She pointed to a door sealed with glowing rings. Behind that, our glider. Together, they pushed it open. The chamber beyond was like a launch bay, small, hidden, and glowing red from magma vents that kept the ship warm and ready. The glider was sleek, silver and blue with wings folded like a dragonfly's. It looked fast, maybe fast enough. "Get in," Solara said. She tapped the console, and the cockpit hissed open. Ethan slid into the seat, which molded itself to his shape. Solara followed and sat beside him, her fingers moving quickly over glowing symbols. The ship hummed, then shivered. Outside, more skittering. "They're climbing the shaft," Ethan warned. "Let them," she replied coldly. "Let's give them fire." She hit the launch button. The glider screamed out of the bay just as creatures burst into the chamber. Flames erupted from the back thrusters, engulfing the opening and lighting the tunnel behind them. Ethan looked back once, then stopped. There was no going back. The sky of Virex 7 opened around them. The purple clouds, the floating islands, the glowing wildlife. It all blurred as the glider sped through the atmosphere. "We're not safe yet," Solara said. "Figures." She activated the cloak. The glider shimmered and vanished from radar. Still, she scanned behind them. 3 red dots were closing in. Harvesters, she muttered. They're faster than I thought. Can we outrun them? No, but we can outthink them. She pointed toward a narrow canyon cutting through one of the floating islands. Hold on. The glider dove. Wind slammed into them. The canyon walls flew by, almost brushing the wings. Ethan gripped the handles as tightly as he could. This is crazy. They can't match our agility, Solara said. But we have. To survive the turn, one of the enemy ships followed. The other two hesitated. They're letting one scout, she said. The others will try to cut us off. Ethan saw the trap. They're smarter than bugs. Too smart. She twisted the glider sharply. The scout followed and slammed into a jagged rock hidden by a thermal shimmer. The explosion shook the canyon. One down, she whispered. The glider rose again, higher this time. But the other two ships were waiting. Ethan looked at her. What now? She didn't answer immediately. Her eyes locked on a distant storm, a black cloud with lightning and thunder rolling through it. That, she said. We go through that. You're insane. She smirked for the first time. Maybe. But if they follow, they'll burn. Ethan didn't argue. The storm drew closer like a living wall. As the glider disappeared into the dark, he reached over and grabbed her hand. She didn't pull away. Inside the storm, everything vanished. Only the bond between them remained. The moment they entered the storm, the sky turned black. Lightning snapped across the clouds like silver veins. Wind howled against the glider's hull. Rain, or something like it, splattered across the windshield in glowing droplets. Ethan felt his stomach twist. The controls jerked in his hands, the glider fighting them with every second. Are we going to crash? He shouted over the noise. No, Solara said calmly, though sweat ran down her face. But only if you trust me. I do. Then stop fighting it. Let the glider ride the wind. Ethan loosened his grip. Slowly, the glider steadied. It began gliding instead of resisting, riding the chaotic air currents like a bird caught in a gale. But then came a sound. It wasn't thunder. It wasn't wind. It was a voice. Deep. Hollow. Whispering in a strange language that didn't belong to either of them. Ethan looked at Solara. Did you hear that? She nodded slowly, her face pale. It's the storm entity. What is that? A creature made of sound and air, old as the planet. It hates machines. Perfect. The voice grew louder. The windshield fogged with words, strange symbols Ethan couldn't read. The glider jerked again, lights flickering. Solara reached out and touched the fogged glass. Her fingers glowed where she made contact. Keep flying, she whispered. I'll speak to it. Speak to a storm? She ignored him. Her voice changed, becoming melodic, almost like a song. Words flowed from her mouth in tones that made Ethan's chest ache. The storm slowed. The lightning paused. The voice stopped whispering and began listening. Solara closed her eyes, her hands glowing brighter now. Ethan focused on flying, trying not to think about the way the clouds seemed to watch him. Then, silence. Clear, perfect silence. The glider passed through the black clouds and broke out the other side. Behind them, the storm collapsed in on itself, roaring as if in pain. The two harvester ships had entered behind them, but only one came out. The other was gone, burned, eaten, forgotten. Solara slumped in her seat. We lost one, and almost lost us. He looked at her. Her skin was paler than before. Her breathing shallow. What did it do to you? I sang its hunger, she said faintly. I gave it my fear, and it let us go. Ethan didn't understand, but he didn't need to. He just took her hand. You did good. A weak smile touched her lips. Then the remaining harvester ship fired. A missile streaked past their right wing, barely missing. We're not done yet, Ethan shouted. Solara jolted upright. Go left, toward the ice field. The what? She pointed. A shimmering white plain stretched ahead, dotted with tall, jagged spikes of glowing ice. It looked dangerous, but also like cover. Ethan. How the glider weaved between the spires. The harvester followed, but slower, cautious. They'll try to trap us, she said. We need to vanish. Cloak won't work again? They adapted. But there's another way. She reached under the dashboard and pulled out a glowing sphere. It's a memory spark. We can leave a trail, a fake trail. You had that this whole time? I hoped we wouldn't need it. She activated the device and threw it from the window. It exploded in a burst of light, scattering decoys across the ice. The harvester hesitated, then turned and followed. The false signals. Ethan slowed the glider behind a large spire and powered down. Silence. Solara exhaled. It worked. Ethan slumped back in his seat, breathing hard. I don't even know what's happening anymore. We're alive, she said softly. That's what matters. For a moment, they said nothing. Then Ethan looked at her again. Where do we go now? Solara's eyes darkened. There's only one place left. Where? She turned, her head slowly toward the horizon. To the forbidden moon. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Why's it forbidden? Because no one who goes there ever comes back. A long silence followed. Then Ethan smiled faintly. Sounds like our kind of place. Together they lifted the glider off the ice and flew toward the glowing crescent in the sky, not knowing what waited for them, only knowing they had to find out. The glider drifted through space, quiet and cloaked. Ahead of them hung the forbidden moon. It wasn't like the others. No gentle colors, no glowing clouds. It was dark. The surface looked cracked, like old skin. Faint pulses of red light blinked from beneath the crust. Ethan felt a strange chill just looking at it. Solara didn't speak much. Her eyes stayed fixed on the moon. You okay? He asked. She nodded slowly. This place, it's older than the galaxy. What's on it? Ruins, machines, things that were buried and never meant to wake. Then why are we going there? She looked at him. Because only there, we might find answers. They broke through the moon's thin atmosphere. The glider rattled as it entered a zone of heavy magnetic interference. The sky above was black and no stars could be seen from the surface. They landed near a broken tower. It leaned at an angle, half swallowed by dust and stone. Strange alien carvings ran across its base, letters like claws. Ethan stepped out first. The ground crunched under his boots, dry and sharp. No wind, no sound, only silence. Solara joined him. She held a scanner, its screen flickering. This place is dead, Ethan said. No, she replied. It's listening. He looked around. Nothing moved. But still, he felt something. They walked toward the tower. The doors were sealed shut, covered in thick vines of metal. Solara placed her hand on it. It knows you, she said. What? The bond. It changed you. You're not fully human anymore. That's why you lived. Before he could ask more, the door groaned and opened. Inside was a wide circular room, filled with dust and silence. But at the center stood something strange. A crystal throne, cracked but still glowing, and sitting in it, a skeleton. It was humanoid but much taller. Its bones were wrapped in golden armor, and in one hand it held a staff with 3 glowing tips. Solara knelt. It's him. Who? The first bonded. The one who tried to unite machines, minds, and flesh. He failed. Ethan walked slowly toward the throne. He could feel heat in the air, though nothing burned. Then the skeleton's eyes lit up. He jumped back, weapon raised, but the figure didn't move. A voice echoed in the room, old and tired. Another one, chosen by the storm. Ethan froze. What is this? The voice continued. Your path is not yours alone. 2 threads become one. The bond must be completed. or the darkness will return. Solara looked at him. He's speaking of the ancient war, the one before everything. This place, it's a warning. The crystal throne glowed brighter. One must become more. The bond must evolve, or both will fall. Then silence. The light in the skeleton's eyes faded. What does that mean? Ethan asked. Solara's face was pale. We're not just survivors. We're part of something bigger. This bond, it's not just to save us. It's to stop something. Ethan felt a strange vibration in his chest. The bond, it was pulsing. I don't want to become something else, he said softly. Neither do I, she whispered. But if it's the only way. Suddenly the tower shook. A distant roar echoed from the outside. Ethan ran to the entrance. In the distance, black ships were landing. They found us. How? Solara gasped. The bond, Ethan said. They're tracking it. Solara looked at him, her eyes glowing slightly. Then it's time to choose. Choose what? Do we run again, or do we fight? Here, where the first bonded died? Ethan stared at the skeleton on the throne. Then he clenched his fists. We fight. She nodded once. And the crystal. Throne began to glow again. The glow from the throne spread across the floor. Strange symbols lit up beneath their feet. Shapes Ethan didn't recognize but somehow understood. They told a story of a bond born not from love, not from war, but from survival and choice. Solara stepped forward. This place is activating the next stage. Ethan felt it too, a thrum deep inside his chest. His heartbeat wasn't alone. It matched hers now, in rhythm, in emotion. The crystal throne pulsed again. A beam of soft white light rose from it, touching both Ethan and Solara. It wasn't hot, it wasn't painful, but it was powerful. Ethan gasped as images flashed through his mind. Worlds burning. Giants, made of stars. A gate torn open in space, a swarm with no face, just hunger. And always, the bond. Someone bonded, standing against the dark. Then he saw himself. Not as he was now, but more, stronger, faster, connected, something alien, and something human. He fell to his knees. Solara rushed to his side. Don't fight it, she whispered. Let it in. The moment she touched him, everything exploded in light. The energy wrapped around them, spinning like a cocoon. The tower shook again, but this time from within. The floor cracked open and out of it rose armor. Ancient, glowing, smooth like water, but strong like steel. The voice returned. The bond must fight as one. The armor split in two. One piece. For Ethan, one for Solara. He reached for it. As soon as his hand touched it, it leapt onto him, forming around his body in seconds. It felt weightless, perfect, like it belonged. Solara did the same. Her form shimmered, part warrior, part guardian. Together they stood, and the glow around them faded. Then a loud boom outside. Ethan ran to the door again. Black creatures now crawled over the surface. Not just ships, soldiers, insect-like machines. Some walked on two legs, others slithered. All came toward the tower. They're here, he said. And we're ready, Solara replied. They stepped outside. The first wave attacked without sound. Claws raised, weapons glowing. Ethan lifted his arm. A shield formed instantly, blocking the blast. He swung, and a wave of energy shot from his other hand, slamming 3 enemies into dust. He blinked. What the hell was that? Solara grinned. Reflexes. The suit responds to what you need. She moved with grace, striking fast and fluid. Her weapon was a glowing spear that turned solid only when it hit. Together they danced through the battlefield. For a moment it seemed easy. Then the sky changed. The lead harvester ship descended, bigger than the others. Its shadow covered the entire tower, and from its belly dropped something massive, a creature of smoke and steel. 8 arms, burning eyes. A voice like scraping metal. You do not belong. Ethan stood his ground. Neither do you. The creature pointed. You are bonded. You must be broken. Solara stepped beside him. You can try. The creature charged. Ethan met it halfway. Their fists collided. The ground cracked beneath them. Shockwaves tore through the dust. Solara struck from behind, her spear driving into one of its limbs. The creature roared and spun, knocking them both back. Ethan hit the ground hard, but didn't stay down. The suit healed fast. He rolled and stood again. The bond pulsed inside him. Stronger than ever. He called to Solara in his mind, not with words, but with feeling. She heard him. They moved together. One attack. One defense. One heartbeat. Their bond shone bright. Even the enemy flinched at the light. Ethan jumped high, twisting. In midair, Solara launched her spear and he caught it mid-spin, driving it straight into the creature's chest. The creature screamed. Its armor cracked. Its voice broke into static. Then it exploded in black light. Silence returned. Dust settled, and only the bonded remained standing, breathing hard, holding hands, alive. But they both knew it wasn't the end, just the first. Testutac Solara looked up at the fading glow of the tower. We awakened something ancient. Ethan nodded. Let's hope it's on our side. Far above, in the cold dark of space, something watched, and it had just opened its eyes. The sky above the forbidden moon shimmered. Something massive moved behind the stars, slow, deliberate, like a god waking from slumber. Solara looked up, her eyes wide with fear. It's watching. Ethan followed her gaze. At first he saw nothing. Then the stars blinked, one by one, until a giant ring of light appeared in the sky. Not a ship, not a planet, an eye. A massive glowing eye in space. What is that? Ethan asked, barely whispering. It's the ancient one, Solara said. The thing the first bonded tried to stop. The thing the bond was created to fight. The air grew heavy. Their armor dimmed. The ground trembled beneath their feet. Voice thundered, not through air but inside their minds. You have awakened the old flame. You are not ready. Ethan gritted his teeth. We just destroyed one of your monsters. That was nothing, the voice replied. A fragment. A whisper. You cannot imagine the true storm. Solara stepped forward. Then teach us. Prove yourselves. Open the gate. The ground split. A giant circular platform rose in front of the tower, etched with 9 glowing points. A test, Solara whispered. Just like in the old stories. Ethan stepped onto the platform. His suit pulsed. One point lit up. A beam of light shot upward and formed a figure, shadow and light, shaped like Ethan, but more powerful, faster, and silent. It attacked. Ethan blocked just in time, the impact rattling his arm. The copy moved with terrifying precision. You're fighting yourself, Solara shouted. Yeah, I noticed. He dodged, rolled, and fired. The figure deflected every move. Solara tried to help, but a wall of energy blocked her. Only he can pass this. Ethan focused. He stopped fighting to win. He let go of control. He trusted the bond. He felt Solara's presence, her breath, her hope, and moved in sync with it. The copy faltered. It had no heart. Ethan struck, full of purpose. The shadow shattered into light. 1 point complete. Then Solara's challenge began. She faced her reflection, calm, cold, ruthless. They clashed like lightning and thunder. Blade against blade, her double slammed her down hard. She didn't rise. Solara, Ethan called. Nothing. The copy raised its spear, then stopped. Solara opened her eyes. She reached for Ethan, not with words, but through the bond. He sent everything, his belief, his energy, his fire. She rolled, sprang up, and drove her own spear into the copy's chest. It shattered. 2 points complete. The other 6 lit up on their own. Ethan frowned, What's happening? Solara's voice shook. The others. They failed. We're the last. Then the center of the platform opened like an eye. A staircase of light spiraled down. The gate. They looked at each other. Ready? Ethan asked. No, she smiled. But let's go anyway. They descended. The chamber below held no walls, only stars. Endless stars. The ground shimmered with time. At the center hovered a seed. Not alive. Not a machine. Just pure potential. This is it. Solara whispered. This is what the bond protects. The voice returned. One last choice. Take it. And become more than human. More than alien. Become bonded forever. Ethan reached for her hand. I don't want to lose myself, he said. You won't, she whispered, because I'll be there. They touched the seed together. The chamber exploded in light. Two bodies vanished. But a new being emerged, stronger, united, and the eye in the sky blinked, not in anger, but in fear, because for the first time in eons, the bond had won. The light faded slowly, where Ethan and Solara once stood. Now there was something new. One being, not male, not female, not alien, not human, but both. Its skin shimmered. Metallic bronze, deep silver, glowing blue. Its eyes held galaxies. It hovered gently above the stone, perfectly still and yet full of purpose. It opened its eyes and smiled. I am Ethan, it said softly, like music. I am Solara, it said again, warmer and deeper. Then, as one, we are bonded, we are one. Above them, the massive eye in space trembled. The being looked up. It saw everything, stars, galaxies, futures, the darkness creeping at the edges of reality. The bond gave it sight, but also memory, a promise whispered in silence. Protect each other. Protect what matters. The being moved forward. Time bent around it. The air itself made way, and the real gate opened. Beyond it lay chaos, raging storms, broken worlds, drifting metal corpses of fleets long dead. This was the true battlefield, where the first war began, where the end must be decided. Suddenly the voice of the eye echoed. You chose the bond. Then come, face what comes after. The being didn't hesitate. It stepped through the gate, and the stars screamed. Before it floated a planet-sized ship, ancient, broken, but alive with old rage. Inside were millions of stasis pods. Waiting. The voice inside the bond whispered, this is where the swarm was born. The being raised its hand. A wall of light swept forward, clearing the darkness. The swarm stirred. Then, it woke. Pods cracked open. One by one. Hundreds. Thousands. Creatures spilled out. Black eyes, metal limbs, clicking jaws. The bonded summoned. Armor. Wings. Light. Weapons shaped by will, and they fought. Perfectly. Shield. Strike. Spin. Blast. Protect. Defend. Strike again. Nothing could touch them, until... I'm slipping, Ethan! No, don't let go. The voice came from inside, from Solara. The bond shook. Too much pressure, too much pain. They had become one. But now, they were being pulled apart, by fear, by doubt, by the weight of everything. The being dropped to one knee. The swarm closed in, then from the light a hand reached out, his hand, her hand. I remember who we are, he whispered. We're not perfect, she said. But we're stronger. Together. The bond burned bright. It stabilized. Energy surged through the battlefield. Creatures turned to dust. The darkness cracked. The eye in the sky dimmed. For the first time in eons, it hesitated. The bonded rose again, breathing, glowing, wounded, but not broken. We are not done, they said. They turned to face the heart of the ancient swarm ship and kept walking. The corridors of the swarm ship pulsed with black light. Every wall moved like it was alive. Breathing. Watching. Waiting. The bonded being moved forward. Silent. Determined. Inside, Ethan and Zalara still spoke not with words, but with thoughts and feelings. They were one, but still themselves. I feel it, Zalara said. We're getting close. I know, Ethan replied. It's waiting for us. At the center of the ship was a great chamber. It looked like a cathedral, massive arches, glowing vines, walls made of bone and steel. And at the center floated the core, a living mind, a swarm queen. But far older, not insect, not machine, a god that had forgotten its name. It turned as they entered. The voice it spoke with was both thunder and whisper. You were supposed to be mine. The bonded stepped forward. We were never yours. You took the gift, the bond. That power belongs to the swarm. No, they said. It belongs to choice, and we choose to stop you. The core pulsed with rage. Lightning raced across the chamber. Walls closed. Roots rose from the floor. Then the swarm came. Endless creatures, crawling from holes, falling from the ceiling. They didn't hesitate. The bonded fought like fire. Wings of energy sliced through waves of enemies. Shields absorbed blasts. Spears of light shattered armor, but it wasn't enough. For every one they stopped, 3 more came. The bond flared with strain. Inside, Ethan felt Zalara falter. Don't stop, he said. I'm trying, she whispered. But it's so loud. It wants to tear us apart. He reached for her through the bond. He saw her, lost in memory, cold, alone. He took her hand. Look at me. We are not alone. We never were. She gripped his hand back. The bond surged again. Brighter than before. Suddenly something new happened. Others woke. All across the ship, in forgotten pods, other bonds flared to life. Not many, but enough. Pairs of lights blinking on. Humans. Aliens. Connected. A forgotten rebellion rising again. The core screamed, No! The bond is mine! But it was too late. The bonded spread its arms wide and sent a wave of energy through the chamber. All bonded answered. Together, they pushed back the swarm. The ground cracked. The ceiling burst open. Stars poured in like rivers of light. The core began to break. You can't stop it, it whispered, voice fading. The bonded walked to the core. We already did. They reached out and touched it. The queen shattered. Soft light filled the chamber. Peace. Silence. And something new. Hope. The swarm fell still. Across the galaxy, dark signals vanished. Ships powered down. Creatures froze. The infection was over. The bond had reached them all. Ethan and Zalara, still as one, stood in the heart of the swarm, and the galaxy breathed again. They turned to the other bonded, all now rising, blinking, remembering. The war was ending, but one last thing remained. The eye, still watching, still silent, and waiting for their next move. The galaxy had gone silent. From the edge of dying stars to the heart of the swarm ship, no more screams, no more war cries, just breath and waiting. Above, the great eye still hovered in the black sky, watching. It had not moved. It had not spoken. But now, it began to glow again. The bonded being stood at the center of the battlefield. Ethan and Zalara still united, still glowing with shared strength. Around them, other bonded stood ready, some afraid, some angry, all changed forever. Then the eye spoke. Its voice echoed across space and inside every living mind. You have stopped the swarm, but you have not stopped me. Ethan's voice inside the bond was calm. Then speak. What are you? I am the first bond, the true one. I created them. I shaped the war. And I decide what comes next. Zalara felt cold inside. So you used the swarm as a test? No. I use the swarm as fire. Fire burns. Weakness. Fire leaves only the worthy. The bonded flared with light. No, Ethan said. The bond is not fire. It's healing. Trust. Love. The eye pulsed again. Then choose. Take the final step. Merge with me and rise as the new galactic god, or destroy me and lose the bond forever. Silence. Inside the bond, Ethan and Zalara stood face to face again. Can we destroy it? She asked. We can, he answered. But if we do and we lose this, you, me, the bond. She paused, then smiled, eyes full of sorrow and strength. Then let's choose as one. They turned to the eye. The other bonded raised their hands. One choice. One strike. Together. A wave of pure light burst upward. The eye screamed. But it broke. Not from hate. Not from violence, from peace. Its energy scattered across the stars. The bond, every bond unraveled softly like threads in wind, returning to every being it had touched. Ethan and Zalara collapsed to their knees. They were no longer one being, but they were still side by side, still breathing, still alive. He looked at her. She looked at him. You okay? He asked. I feel like myself again, she said. They smiled. Around them, the other bonded stepped forward, no longer fused but still connected in heart. The war was over, not just by power, but by choice. Days later, aboard a quiet ship heading home, Ethan stood by a window. Zalara joined him. Do you miss it? She asked. He thought for a moment. No. I don't miss being a god. I miss hearing your thoughts, feeling everything. She touched his hand. You still can, just not through the bond. Through us. He laughed. Guess we're stuck with each other now. She leaned her head on his shoulder. No bond required. And outside, the stars shone brighter than ever before, because for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy was free.